going I think I will be recording this tonight, so I'm going to repeat a little bit of this. I just realized that what we're going to be doing tonight is going over the meaningful conversation, six-step conversation, and how it relates to doing a nutritional consult. And Mary and I are going to have fun acting it out, essentially. But I wanted to just share a little bit about my story with you. Like Mary said, I've been a leader for 22 years, and I had undiagnosed adrenal fatigue way back in 1994, 95, and I'd had it for 5 years maybe. The doctors didn't know what was wrong with me. I mean, no one talked about that's what it was. It was just called exhaustion. But within the first month of being on the products, I felt better at 40 than I had in my 20s. And basically, it's many of the products you might already be on. It's the the protein, the vitalizer, the equivalent. Back then, it was a little bit different. And so with those products, it just changed my life. And I was able to replace my teacher salary in my first year in the business. I quadrupled that by my sixth year. I've earned a six-figure income for several years. My husband is a green builder, and part of my why was that he was taking a big risk in 1994 to start to build green homes. And he had never been a builder before. He just had a vision. And so Shaklee supported his business during several downturns, including the recession of 2009, 2010. Now he's doing incredibly well, but he would have had to go out of business had we not had our Shaklee business. So we are very, very, very grateful to Shaklee. We are $1 million earners, and one thing that I like to tell people is that in this picture, I was 59 years old. So I think that the products have really all the people in Shaklee that are on the products, we just feel and act sometimes a lot younger than we are because we've just been taking care of our health with Shaklee for so many years. So I'm going to turn this over to Mary. I'm going to go back to and one of the things that I wanted to tell you was that the skills that we're going to be teaching you tonight were basically the skills that Delene and I learned, even though we didn't know that we were learning these skills. And so it's really simple to share with friends and family members when you have a simple skill, like a simple tool, a simple communication tool, and that's what we're going to show you. Okay, let me get out of here and get back to this picture. Okay, so Mary is going to interview me as if it was 22, 23 years ago, and I will just pretend to be myself back then.
And if you don't have the, if you're not able to see the screen, the two documents that we're going to be going over, and I have them laid out side by side. On the left-hand side, I have the six-step communication form, which is the one that I emailed out is slightly different, but it's the same concept as the one on the screen. And then on my right-hand side, I have my nutritional consulting guidelines script. And so as we go along, we're going to go through each step of the six-step communication so that you can see how the script fits in very well with the six-step communication in allowing people to really empty their cup and give you all the information they need to give you in order for them to be able to receive what you have to say. It's really a service-oriented type of communication. Okay. So I guess we'll get started. Hi, Pam. I'm so excited to be on the phone with you today.
Well, hi, Mary. How are you doing? Yeah, I'm me too. I can't wait to learn more.
Well, I'm so excited that Delene introduced us, and I know that Delene had mentioned to me that you were having a little bit of problem with energy.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely want to make sure that I find out a little bit more about your energy issues. And then I also want to make sure that I'm able to help you find any kind of a solution that might be able to benefit. If I could do one thing for you on this call, what would it be?
Um, well, help me. I mean, I've tried a lot of different things. I'm just really trying to discover why it is that I'm so exhausted all the time, and it's really affecting. I have a 5-year-old, I just can't. I want to go to take a nap in the afternoon. It's hard to get up. I just feel draggy all the time. So any ideas or thoughts that you would have about what that is? Go to the doctor and they just say, "Oh, that's just kind of normal for a young mom," but it just doesn't feel like it should. It doesn't feel normal.
I definitely understand that. I actually know quite a few moms who've had some of the very same issues, so I do have a little bit of experience with that. I do want to tell you a little bit about myself so that you don't feel like you're talking to a complete stranger who has no real idea what they're doing.
Okay.
Um, and sorry, I got to take a mommy minute here. My son turned off the TV, which is, a horrible, utter disaster. Okay, there you go. Hey, hey, Brooklyn, take this. So I'm Mary, and I actually am a nurse. I graduated with my nursing degree in 2004, and I've done kind of all different types of nursing. I finished with my master's degree in January, but I've chosen to stay home with my children and use my degree to educate people about natural solutions for their health and wellness issues. I consider myself an advocate and a researcher. And I've chosen to partner with Shaklee to do that. And the reason is because their philosophy and their mission and their vision and their values line up with what I believe as well. So I have chosen to use that company and their products whenever I'm doing my health and wellness education.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Well, I will gladly tell you a little bit more about it as we go along. But first, I do want to give you a chance to tell me a little bit about yourself. So I just have a couple questions for you. And as you talk, if it's okay, I'm going to go ahead and take some notes
Okay.
so that I can make sure that I'm getting all my information correct.
Okay.
So the first thing that I would really like to ask you about is to tell me about some health challenges that you and your family have experienced recently.
Well, mostly it's like I said before, I'm just tired all the time, and the way it shows up is lots of irritability. I don't have the patience I have. Sometimes I can't even think straight. I'm just so exhausted, and it just affects I think, my mom being a mom, and
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like I'm dragging all the time. And Alan has lots of allergies too. That's his kind of complaint. He wakes up every morning with post-nasal drip, and he has seasonal allergies that are pretty bad, and he doesn't like to take over-the-counter medications. Allison seems to be okay right now. She doesn't seem to get sick a lot, thank goodness.
Okay. And so we're going to take a slight break real quick. So for those of you who are listening, we started with agenda. And in the agenda, I talked about being introduced to Pam, and I talked about knowing that she had issues with her energy. And so I mentioned that, and that my goal was to help her with her energy levels. And I asked her what her agenda for the call was. And then from there, we moved into position. And one big thing that I want to let everybody know is even though I'm a nurse, you don't have to be a nurse. Pam's not a nurse. Delene's not a nurse. You find out what your identity is, and that's my goal is to help you find your identity. But you find out what your identity is, and that's what you say there. So, Pam, I'm a business leader for over 22 years in Shaklee, and I've helped thousands of people regain their health. And then for Delene, it's very similar.
If I could interrupt, just when I was first getting started in the business, because I didn't have any experience in health and wellness, and I wasn't a nurse, all I really shared with people was that I had resources, and I had other experts that were helping me help you. And if I didn't know the answer, I could go find out what the answer was. And so I was just an advocate for better health, and I just wanted to share with people what happened to me. And so, if you use the products and have a good experience with the products, you are qualified to do this interview.
And then now we're in Fact, Feel, Find. And Fact, Feel, Find is where we allow them to empty their cup and tell us all about how they feel. Okay, so we'll start again. Okay, all right. Well, so I'm going to ask you a few more direct questions, and these are going to be on a scale of 1 to 10, and this is just to help me get an exact gauge for how you're feeling right now, because we want to make sure we know where you're starting to know where we're going to go. So on a scale of 1 to 10, where would you put your energy on average?
Is 10 high or low?
Oh, good question. 1 is low and 10 is high.
Okay. So I would say a 4.
Okay. On that same scale, using 1 as a low point and 10 as a high point, where would you put your average daily stress?
5 or 6.
Okay. And I know you said that you were irritable. So would you say that your irritability and your stress go together?
Yes, definitely. And toward the end of the day, about 4 on, between 4 and 7:38, I just start to crash, and that seems to be when I'm needed the most, and lots of things are going on, and I don't have the energy, and then I just get very irritable, and then I'm very stressed, and then it's like back and forth, irritability, stress, irritability, stress.
Okay. On that same scale of 1 to 10, where would you put your mood swings?
I guess the same thing, for about 4 or 5.
Okay. And I know this may be an odd question, but this is really just going to help me to determine how poorly or how well you feel. And I'm not asking for how much money you make during the month or anything like that. What I just want to know is I want you to put an amount on how you feel. So the question is, if you could put a dollar amount on feeling better and what that would be worth to you, what would you say that is?
Uh, hmm. Well, I mean, I would give anything right now to feel better. I mean, I wouldn't, it couldn't break my budget, but if I had to give up something else that I was spending money on a monthly basis, maybe to feel better, I would do that. I would find something that I maybe didn't need to spend money on if I had to. And when I
Okay.
go to the doctors, there's no seeming medicine or anything for this, but I would pay that if there were, I guess.
Right. Right. Okay. Um, Now the next question is, if you could keep a notebook by your bed and throughout the day rate how you feel. So for instance, when I wake up on that same scale of 1 to 10, I have energy at whatever. After breakfast, this is how I feel. In the middle of the day, this is how I feel. If I were to ask you to keep that notebook throughout the day, do you think you could do that for me?
Yes.
Okay. That's going to help me to see during the day where your energy lies, when your pitfalls are. That's going to help us to kind of see where we need to start adjusting things. So that
Okay.
would be very helpful.
That makes sense.
Okay. Are you on any medications?
No, I really don't like to be on medications, and so no, I'm not right now.
Okay. All right. And then, do you currently take any sort of supplements for your body?
Well, I did try some other brands from the health food store, and I tried some from another company that someone recommended, but really I didn't notice any difference at all in how I felt. So I stopped.
Okay. So you stopped taking them? Okay. Did you take them every day when you had them?
Yeah, uh, especially with this one from this one company for about a month, but I didn't notice any difference. I still felt really tired.
Okay. All right. Now walk me through a typical day. So when you wake up in the morning, what does your breakfast look like?
Um, Possibly cereal or maybe some yogurt. Or if I'm running, sometimes I forget and don't have time to eat breakfast, but or fruit.
Okay. And what about your lunch?
I try to do something healthy, but usually it's on the run, and it might be a sandwich, or if I'm trying to do good and try to lose weight, I might be more careful. But most of the time, it's just grabbing something.
Okay. Do you tend to snack during the day?
Well, I do. I really love sweets, and sometimes I'll just get started on sweets, especially during that time between 4 and 6. That's when I want that. Or late at night before I go to bed, I really want something sweet because that's.
Yeah.
I think it makes me feel better, but I know it doesn't, and I know it's really bad for me. But I love
Right.
carbs. They're just.
Yeah, usually when we start craving those really sweet carby things, it's because our blood sugar is dropping pretty low.
Mhm.
Um, okay, how many vegetables would you say that you eat on a daily basis?
Well, I know I need to get in, 6 to 8, and I doubt that I do that. I probably have a salad and another green vegetable maybe 3 to 5 times a week.
Okay. When was the last time you had any type of an antibiotic?
I really don't take antibiotics either because I just haven't um, wanted to do that. I think it's been over a year.
Okay. And then can you tell me a little bit about your digestive system?
Uh,
So, do you ever get like stomach cramping or gas or bloating, anything like that?
um, yeah, if I've eaten a lot of sugar, it keeps me up at night and my stomach's upset, especially if I eat it after a certain time of night. I will notice that it keeps me up and my stomach's upset.
Okay. What about like heartburn or yeast infections, anything like that?
No, I've not had anything like that.
Okay. Excellent. Um, well, now that we've gone through some of the questions, is it okay if I tell you a little bit about what my thoughts are and a little bit about some recommendations that I might have?
Sure. Hmm.
Okay. So here's where we're going to take a break. And so for those of you who are on the call, we've gone through all the questions. And now that we've gone through the questions, we're going to go to the 7 categories. And if anybody wants to chime in, can anybody guess which one of those, I'm sorry, 8 categories. Can anybody chime in and tell me what they think, which one of those 8 categories she would fall into? Quiet people.
You want me to put that up on the screen?
No, I don't know. They may all be on mute and may not be able to speak. So, but we're going to put her in the number 5 category, which is energy and fatigue. And so, if you flip to the last couple of pages, we're going to go through the recommendations with her. So right now we've gone from fact, feel, find, and we're going into presentation. So we're going to tell her our general recommendations. But then if you flip all the way back to number 5, which is on the next to last page, you'll see all the recommendations that I'm going to give her. So that's why I love this script, because once you ask them the questions and you figure out what category they fall in, the recommendations are right there for you. So, okay. So we'll get started back. And, okay. All right, so the first couple things I want to talk to you about is just some general diet recommendations. And I know that you said that you know that you should be eating a little bit differently, so this isn't going to be a big surprise to you. But the first thing is we want to make sure we're getting in 6 to 9 vegetables a day. A lot of times people will eat fruit, but we want to make sure that we're balancing that really well with the vegetables, so we're not getting quite so much sugar. Um, and if you need ideas for those, I can send you some recipes. Do you think you might be able to start adding in those 6 to 9 vegetables a day, or would you like for me to send you some recipes?
Sure, I would love that. That sounds fun.
Okay. Um, the next thing is we need to make sure that we're cutting back on the refined carbs and sugars. And this is also starchy potatoes. I don't know, a lot of times people will substitute potatoes for vegetables, but we want to limit those as well because those refined carbs and sugars and starchy potatoes actually trigger the same place in our brain that opiates do. And so we actually can get addicted to those, and they're not gonna provide us that long-term energy. They're going to spike our blood sugar really high and then plummet us back down.
Mm-hmm.
So
That makes
the last, yeah, and that's why you're feeling that slump in the midday. Is because we're getting a lot of those carbs and starchy sugars instead of good proteins and good fats. And then the other thing is when we eat those things, when we eat the sugars and the red meats and the dairy, like you were mentioning, your yogurt in the morning, when we're eating those and we're not balancing them out, that puts our body into an acidic level. And acidic level is what actually causes problems with our cells. Raymond Francis wrote a book called Never Be Sick Again, and what he says is there's actually only one disease, and that is malfunctioning cells. Malfunctioning cells can cause sickness, they can cause cancer and things like that. So we want to put our body back into an alkaline place, and supplements can help us do that. There's a really good show by Dr. Sanjay Gupta called on 60 Minutes that was on sugar. Is it okay if I send that to you? It will really help you to understand what eating sugars and carbs and things like that can do to our body.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Okay. If I were to send that to you, when do you think you'd be able to watch it?
I think I probably could watch it maybe Wednesday afternoon sometime. Either,
Okay, so if we were to set a time on Thursday to call
uh
and get back on the phone, would you have been able to watch it by then?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and put that down on my calendar, and I'll send you some recipes to go with that as well. So we can talk about those recipes and follow up on the 60-minute show when we're on the phone that day.
Okay.
But I do want to make sure that I give you a couple of supplement recommendations. So when we're talking about building energy, I mentioned proteins and good fats. And I've actually done quite a bit of research on moms and the toll and the taxing that having children does on our bodies. And while children are amazing little miracles, they take a lot out of our body to create. So we're building these babies for 9 months, and then we're nourishing these babies for sometimes 1 to 2 years after they've been born. So a lot of the research that I've done has been focused on the nutritional deficiencies that come along with that. So there's some really common ones like B vitamins, magnesium, chromium, iodine, which is so important for our thyroid. Fats, the good fatty acids, they go to making your baby's brain, and so our body gets deficient on good fatty acids, and it's really hard on our adrenals and our liver and our thyroid. So one of the best things that we can do for our body, and Shaklee has a really comprehensive vitamin that goes towards that, is the Vitalizer. It has all those in it. It has the good fatty acids. It has the B's and the C's and the iodine. It also has in it an Optiflora Pearl, which is really good for your digestive system when we're talking about your digestive upset that you get from sugar. So that's one of those that I would recommend, as well as one of our proteins, and my favorite is the Life Shake. The Life Shake is just so good for you, and it's got the prebiotics, the probiotics, the proteins, and the fats in it. That's really going to stabilize your blood sugar and feed your body. So what I would really like to do, along with that video and some recipes, is I would like to send you kind of a summary of the vitamins that I would recommend to supplement your body. And I'll send you three recommendations: a good, a better, and a best. And they'll be at 3 different price points, so you can kind of take a look and see what might fit into your life and your budget the best.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we touch base on Thursday, we can talk a little bit about putting it into practice.
Wow, that sounds great.
Okay.
Well, I'm eager to find out, to learn more. That sounds great.
If there was one more thing I could do for you while I'm on the phone before I get off, what would it be?
Well, I think that so have you had other people that have been tired like this and have felt better after being on these things you're recommending?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was one of them. That's kind of my story, too. I had 3 kids. I had no energy. And I was on 10 different prescription medications. Actually, one of them was for my thyroid. And I've been able to come off all of my prescription medications. I've lost 22 pounds, and I don't take a nap anymore.
Wow, I'd be interested in that, too. The losing weight part.
Yeah, and I actually have an event on Facebook going on right now, and I have 2 of my friends that are in the business with me are on there as well, and they've given their testimonies that are very similar. Would you like for me to send you an invite to that so you can follow along with it?
Yes, absolutely. I'd love to know more about that.
All right, excellent. I'll go ahead and send that to you as well. All right. Is there anything else I can do for you, Pam?
I think that's it.
All right.
So we went into you want to describe how we went into summary and then open invitation?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
You want to go ahead and describe how we went into summary, which is next steps and open invitation after the presentation.
Yeah, so presentation was where I gave her the dietary recommendations. I educated her a little bit, and then I asked her, or I told her about the good, better, best, and asked her if that would be okay for me to send that to her. And then I paused and waited for her to answer. And when she replied, I would love to have that information. So then I told her, I'm going to send you the 60-minute video. I'm going to send you the good, the better, the best. And then I said I was going to send you something else, the Facebook event invite. Mm-hmm. And then it's always good to ask to open is actually, we don't close in Shaklee. We open because the whole purpose of having a conversation is to have another conversation. So you always want to end with when you're going to follow up with them, or what you're going to do next for them. And that's what open is. So for this conversation, it was following up with her on Thursday, which I would, in real life, you would have gotten a time as well.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Well, let's open this up now for any questions that you guys might have or thoughts.
Hey, this is Delene. I just have a comment that I would like to make about the role playing that you did. And what I noticed that Mary did is she was asking the questions and Pam was giving her the answers. She was so non-judgmental. Whatever Pam said, she just said, okay. And she moved into the next question. And I think that is really important because the person that you're interviewing is going to feel like you've heard them, and that is so important for people to feel that they have been listened to and that you're taking in what they're saying, in a non-judgmental way. And you did a great job with that, Mary.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So, Chrissy or Lindsay or Callie, do either one of you have any questions?
Can you hear me okay?
Uh-huh.
Can anyone hear me okay? I'm just trying to unmute myself.
Yeah.
So, no, I don't have any questions. I was following along, and I think you're pretty helpful.
Very good. Okay, well, I probably will just stop the recording now, and then if there are questions you think of, we'll just add those in.
I think we might need to mute Lindsay. She said she didn't have a microphone,
Okay.
but I'm wondering if that's where the noise is coming from.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. What were you saying, Christy? I didn't hear you.
Sorry. I was following along, and I don't think I have any other questions. But when you were talking about like the different categories that she fit into, and you said something about Category 5, I couldn't see any of that, and I didn't know exactly what you were talking about.
Oh, okay. Do you want to pull that document up, Pam?
Sorry, I didn't know if it was something I should have had or something like that, but I was a little lost at that part.
Okay, and
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah, what do I do with this? Put it in here.
Did everybody else, were you able to follow along? Do you know what we were talking about when we said the categories? Callie, I don't know if you're still there, if you had to drop off or not.
I'm still here, but I was on the phone, not the computer, so I'm not following along. I'm just listening.
Did you see the script that we sent?
I did, but I'm actually on my cell phone, so.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's okay. I just wanted to make sure that you saw it. Okay. So
Yes.
Do you see the categories, Chrissy?
Yep, I see it.
Okay. So based on the questions, it's real easy to lump somebody in. And if you're not sure, like an example of a weakened immune system, it tells you out there the allergies, the colds, the viruses. And then the inflammation is the asthma, cancer, heart, joint. General hereditary disorders would be like spina bifida or what's another a heart, like a chronic heart problem, maybe they have a hole in their heart or something like that. Those kinds of things. Supplements aren't going to help with that, but we can support their body regardless. So those kinds of things, you won't find a solution for those. Mental and mood would be like your depression, anxiety, ADD, and then energy and fatigue, like what Pam had. Digestive issues like Crohn's. What's another good digestive issue?
IBS. Same thing.
Crohn's is really IBS.
Gas and bloating. I think a lot of people experience that at different. Women say all the time, "Oh, my stomach is pushing out because I'm so bloated."
And reflux.
Yeah. Reflux. And then obesity, and then just generalized children's health. And so then you can scroll down based on what category you put them in. You can scroll down past the general recommendations, because regardless of what they say, you're going to give those same general recommendations. Everybody's going to hear those because that's just general health. But then you can go by the number and find the category and the recommendations that go alongside it.
Okay. I see all that.
Yeah, so it really makes it a lot easier to talk to somebody, just because for me, I can tell you I've assessed thousands of people. I mean, in my time as a nurse, I've done physical assessments, I've done histories, but I would still even forget. And I know Lindsay doesn't have a microphone, but I did something very, very similar when Lindsay and I first met. But I didn't ask her all these questions just because it's really hard to remember unless you have it somewhere to refer to. So I would get off the phone with somebody and I'd say, oh, darn it, I forgot to ask them whatever. And a common one that I would forget to ask is, are you on any medications? And that's a pretty important thing to know. Mm-hmm. So I really like this script personally. I think it's very, very helpful. You're stuck. Sorry, I'm patting a baby. I don't know if y'all can hear that.
Oh, that's what that is.
It sounds like I'm beating somebody, but oh, sorry, I'm patting Anna as he decides it's time to go to sleep.
Uh-huh. Well, it's bedtime.
Yeah. Do you have any questions, Chrissy or Callie? Oh, Callie said she had to drop off. Randy just came home from church.
Well, thank you all so much. I think I'm going to stop the recording now. I think we've got a really good amount of information that we can share with other, with Mary's group down the road. And thank you for participating. I'm just going to stop the recording and we'll move on.